Hello, and welcome to Roads, Rails, and Reels, an interview series brought to you by Metro. This episode is sponsored by and produced in partnership with NJ Transit. Before we get into today's conversation, remember to follow and connect with us on social media. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss future episodes of Roads, Rails, and Reels. Be sure to check out our podcast, METROspectives, wherever you choose to listen. In today's episode, Metro Executive Editor Alex Roman sits down with Kevin Corbett, President and CEO of NJ Transit. They discuss the impact of COVID-19 on NJ Transit, the work that they've been doing with the While You Were Away campaign, as well as the future of the agency. And now, Alex's conversation with Kevin.
All right, thanks for joining Road Rails and Reels, Mr. Corbett. How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you.
Excellent. We're going to discuss some of the initiatives NJ Transit has put in place, during COVID-19. But first, I want to get a brief snapshot of, how hard the agency was hit during the pandemic, and where operations stand as of today.
Thanks, and certainly, as we're coming out of it, it's hard to believe it was, a bit over a year ago, and right now, as we're coming out of it, our average weekday rail ridership, which for months originally was down in the single digits and then came up to sort of 20 to 25%, with the successful efforts of Governor Murphy and the state to get vaccinated. We really now see our ridership at approximately 50% over the last several weeks, and on weekends actually almost back to normal, the 80-90% range. So we really see people coming back, and certainly, as I say, the interstate bus service, that's now intrastate is about 60-65% of pre-pandemic ridership, and to the major interstate into New York, that's up to about 50%. So as New York starts slowly to open up, particularly on the workday and the office place, that's about 50%, but we expect that to continue. I should also mention our light rail ridership is holding steady at about 60% of pre-COVID levels as well.
And are you guys back at running full services? I know a lot of people obviously went to Sunday service and kind of adjusted their peak service. Are you guys back to 100% service right now?
Yes, we shortly we cut back service originally, obviously by the pandemic, but we went back to full service or close to full service, and we've been running pretty much at full service, for quite a while.
Yeah, and as we emerge from kind of this post-pandemic, and we're looking forward now, at a time where it's difficult to think that was going to ever happen. Can you talk a little about some of the lessons learned by NJ Transit?
Oh, glad to. One of the things that really is positive, and you see that in crises a lot of times. I think 9/11, people really pulled together, and you saw the best of government, best of cooperation, and I think we saw a lot of that similarities here. We worked. I co-chaired the Northeast Corridor Commission with Amit Bose, the head of the Federal Railway Administration. So all those members with the other states, Governor Murphy, and the governors from the seven other states had a task force to deal with various COVID issues. And within that task force, the 7-state task force, there was one, different aspects, and we had all the transportation people working together. And then on a national and even international, I serve as the North American board member for the Union Internationale de Transport Public, based in Brussels, the international APTA. And I'm on the board of APTA as well. And we really saw the cooperation both nationally and internationally, best practices, what was trending, whether it was, Hong Kong, Paris, Sydney, Japan, and we're all comparing notes, and same thing within APTA and those communities. So we were really able to pull a lot of resources very timely, and use technology that, was a key part of that too. Obviously, we're, as we're doing now, where it was less common to be doing, Zoom calls, et cetera.
Right.
Look to pioneer different things, innovations such as HVAC filtration on vehicles, or non-UV light and bacterial solution for, sanitizing, things like that. Some panned out, some maybe not, but at least we had that cooperation. And we also aggressively use the opportunity to finish our positive train control work having that downtime and to move our capital plan. We kept our capital plan working and construction going through the pandemic, and we were able to gain some time on critical projects.
Yeah, and that's a nice segue to my next question, which is, the agency did a lot of work during the pandemic to have operations ready. Post-pandemic, made progress on your capital projects. Can you talk a little bit about the While You've Been Away campaign and some of the projects that have been in the works over the last 18 months or so?
Yeah, certainly. And as we say, it's true for a lot of people. And we're having people even in our own offices now just starting to come back. We reopened the offices 2-3 days a week, and after Labor Day, we're going to be 5 days a week. But for a lot of the riders, and I'd see it, I've been commuting the whole time and coming in. A lot of times I'll be in the head end of the train, the engineers are just talking. But for a while, it was like a ghost town, a zombie apocalypse kind of thing. And now we're seeing people really start to come back more and more. While people haven't been riding, we decided to really put that all together to give people comfort in coming back. Everything we've done. So, as you say, we call it the While You've Been Away campaign, and it's designed to really increase rider confidence to come back. As I say, we do see them coming back, which is really encouraging, and let them see the improvements that we've been making while they were gone. We invested. We came out with a 5-year capital plan. The first time we ever had one. We took a few years. When I first came in 3 years ago, you do a baseline assessment of all our assets and then develop a 5-year capital plan. So we rolled that out last year in concert with a 10-year strategic plan. And a lot of those projects were in the capital plan. We've moved. Some of them were already starting to move, but rolled in. So, over the last 3 years. We've moved more than $4 billion out of the $17 billion capital plan. Our projects are now underway. They're soon to be, awarded. And that's up from just $60 million in hard money contracts that were on the street in 2017. So really busy moving a lot of key projects. And people, in our train crews see it along the way. Certainly one that got a lot of attention is the $1.8 billion Portal North Bridge, the infamous bridge that, when it gets open, would delay trains all the way from Washington to Boston. And obviously for all our commuters, it's torturous. So we expect that to be awarded in a few months, go to our board in October. That's well along in procurement. And we've been obviously just got the record of decision recently from FRA and FTA for the Hudson Tunnel project. So, that's exciting.
If you could talk a little bit specifically about some of the projects and some of the benefits they'll bring to riders once, they've come to completion. How will it benefit NJ Transit's, day-to-day passengers and your passengers that are there day in, day out?
Yeah, I think for myself, having been a lifelong commuter long before I ever thought I'd be in this position, people want to go from A to B as quickly as possible, get to work, or home, or friends, or hospital visit, whatever. So the main thing for us is, sort of to be behind the scenes, that they were reliable, dependable, state of good repair. Excuse me, just long overdue. We inherited a system, when the private sector went bankrupt in the 60s and 70s. We're 40 years old, so a lot of them were not well invested. A lot of our assets go back to the 19th century.
Right.
So there's a real backlog of state of good repair projects. So I think also on the capital side, we've purchased new rail cars and locomotives. Rail cars are still a few years from being delivered, but a lot of buses, over 300 new buses, including articulated ones. So people are going to see, the newer equipment, more reliable equipment, and they'll be able to go from A to B. And we've improved our cleanliness on the as well as for the riders. I think a lot of it's going to be the technology from our app, that they push notifications, the ability to get information, and also for our workforce to be able to, particularly on the rail side, that conductors now can look at their mobile devices and get the same kind of information that the customers used to be able to get on their iPhones, but FRA rules would not allow, don't allow iPhones for crews. So, we're able to do that. So I think overall they're going to see that it's a safe and a reliable system, a safe, clean, reliable system.
Great. And talking about ridership, and I think a lot of agencies across the nation are at the point now where they're trying to bring that ridership back, prove that it's safe, prove that it's still reliable. Can you talk about some of the programs NJ Transit is putting in place to kind of bring people back?
Yeah, I think it's, transit should be fun. I mean, the main thing is getting from A to B, and that's important. You feel comfortable and safe. But beyond that, we're trying to make it a little more fun for people to come back. A NJT rewards program, where already more than 2 months ago, and more than 30,000 customers have signed up. Where it's sort of like frequent flyer, you get for every ticket you buy, you accumulate points, and we worked in partnership with museums and restaurants, particularly right along our right-of-ways, so that, for me, if I'm going to Morristown or I'm going to New York, if I want to go to the Intrepid, you can cash your points in, and it's really been caught on. So we're really happy to see that. And it's good for the vendors, particularly that need to attract business back, and the museums, et cetera, but it's also good for our riders. And then flexibility, if people are sort of trying to figure out, I have no doubt that ridership will come back strong in the longer term. We're the most densely populated state in the union. And you look going into New York or Philadelphia with the river and traffic, normal traffic, which is already bad now. And, and if more riders keep staying with traffic, as everyone goes back to work, it'll even be worse. So very optimistic that we'll be back to full ridership, whether it be 1 year, 2 year, we'll see. We budget conservatively, but people were not sure their work pattern yet. So we created in February a fair 20 trip ticket that we call Flex Pass. It's a discounted 20% of the one-way fare. That's good for 30 days. So instead of a weekly or a monthly that was fixed, give people that flexibility, and we see that that being popular. And then other things like transit to trails, and people, they're starting to get outside. Cabin fever. We came out with a program that is online map and had over 60 national, state, and county parks throughout New Jersey and in our service area, so that you could use that to get people, and that seems to be catching on as well. And then again, person notification with arrival alerts, so you can set it to go off a few minutes, whatever your station is, will alert you beforehand, so you don't oversleep your station. So things like that we think make it more comfortable than for people who've been away from us for a while than they would have experienced before.
Right. Well, great. Lots of exciting stuff going on at NJ Transit. Mr. Corbett, I really appreciate joining Road Rails and Reels today. And thank you for joining. I'm Alex Stroman, Executive Editor for Metro Magazine, and I'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex.